but I'm a workout queen. But there has never been anybody in my workout class that died.
Holy cow.
I'm just saying.
That's what you're saying?
Right, that's what I'm going to say. Nobody's ever died. Because people always say, Renee will kill you in there.
Allegedly.
That's right. That's allegedly kill me in there.
You're listening to the Good for Business podcast, where we feature interviews, tips, and tricks from owners, operators, and innovators throughout Mississippi and around the world. And now, your host, Colin Krieger. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show this week. My guest today is Renee from United Way. How you doing, darling?
I'm wonderful. How about yourself, Colin?
I am getting there. Well, as you well know, every single week we start the podcast with the pedigree information. So tell me a little bit about you, family, kids, dogs, pets, cats, animals, where you living today.
Most people don't know this, but I am born in Chicago, Illinois, raised in the Delta. So from Cleveland, Mississippi. I'm a transplant, been in Columbus the last 34 years. So I got to call this home now.
Yeah.
Columbus is home.
Okay.
So I grew up in Cleveland, Mississippi. So I went to Cleveland High School. But all of my kids, my three daughters that I have, the oldest one played softball and the youngest one played softball. I always tell people I got three girls. I know you've heard this before. I have three daughters. They all like diamonds. Two like them dirty and one likes them shiny. So I have two softball players, the oldest one and the youngest one. And then my middle daughter is Miss Kennedy. She has run for Miss Mississippi, Miss Alabama, Miss Nevada, Miss Utah. That's my diamond girl. And then my other dirt diamond girls, my oldest one played softball in college. And then my youngest one also played in college. She played for the University of Lafayette.
You said it right, too.
I learned that. If you're from that area, you'll say Lafayette.
Yeah,
yes.
When I lived up in Oxford, they say Lafayette up there. And I don't care for that whatsoever.
You're not from here. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So she played at ULL 3 years, and then her senior year, she moved to Eugene, Oregon, and played for the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah.
I didn't know this at that time, though, but at the time, they drafted 25 ladies in a pro league that only played in the summer. And DJ was number 23 of 25. So she's played professional league softball in Chicago, Illinois until about 2023-ish. Yeah, this is 2025. So I think 22 or 23 was her last year to play. She then got a volunteer coaching opportunity at the Mississippi State. And then she went to the University of Memphis. And then she went to Ole Miss. And now she's in Auburn. And I said all that to say that if you've never met me before, it's because you are not following the diamonds. Yeah. You got to follow the diamonds, baby, because that's where I was. So that's where we spend all of our time, softball fields.
There you go. Well, let's talk about the origin story. You can start in Chicago. How long were you in Chicago?
A whole 3 years.
Well, that counts. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you get used to the pizza when you're in diapers.
Exactly. You don't. Not at all. So Chicago was just short-lived. Okay. So Mississippi is home.
And did your parents bring you down here? I know you didn't hitchhike.
That's right. My parents, they chose Cleveland, Mississippi. So raised in Cleveland, Mississippi. I went off to college at Jackson State University, I love. And then you have to say that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, you got to say it. Just if you graduated from
Jackson.
No.
I know someone who loves.
Okay. Right.
I'm sure I know there's a lot of friends in town who graduated Jackson State.
They did. Okay. That's right. Donnie, my husband, Donnie, guys, if you guys know Donnie Sanders, he grew up here. I don't think he was born here, but he's a lifelong resident of Columbus, Mississippi. Donnie went to Mississippi College, and we both ran track. So a lot of people may not know that about me, but I'm a workout queen. But there has never been anybody in my workout class that died.
Holy cow.
I'm just saying.
That's what you're saying?
Right. That's what I'm going to say. Nobody's ever died. Because people always say, Renee will kill you in there.
Allegedly.
That's right. Allegedly kill me in there. So that's what I do. I work out now. We both ran track in college. We didn't meet on the track field, but that's what we both wound up doing in college.
It's hard to literally run into somebody on the track field.
Exactly.
Technically speaking.
Can't do it.
But you weren't just in track, though, too. Tell us how good you were. You were really good? I
was all right.
Where'd you go to track?
I got a full ride to Jackson State University. I was the anchor leg for all of the relays, but I believe the only reason I was the anchor leg was because the person who did leg 1, 2, and 3, they were phenomenal, and all I had to do was cross the finish line.
You had to get past it. Look, everybody, you've already been cited. We're only on our 5th episode, and you've been cited twice as being one of the hardest working women in show business.
Really?
What was your first job ever, or were paycheck or not? Whether you were working on for your family, or what were you doing?
Before United Way, that's the question, right?
I'm talking about when you were a baby, like the whole job.
I got my first job in Las Vegas, Nevada.
How'd you get to Las Vegas?
I know, right? Yeah. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother podcast. I don't want to even go there. That's all new. First job in Vegas. That was the first job I ever had. It was at McDonald's. I had to go all the way to Vegas to get a job at Mickey D's.
They didn't have one over the Delta?
They just didn't see all my potentials, so they would not hire me. That's what it was. So, yeah. But here, once I got to Columbus, I'm sure I did 5 years at the Columbus Light and Water Department. I didn't realize that was the state of Mississippi, that was a state job, working at Columbus Light and Water. So I did 5 years for the state of Mississippi through Columbus Light and Water. Yeah. And then I got, my next job was at East Mississippi Community College, but it was at the Air Force Base. So a lot of people didn't know that the Air Force Base had lots of colleges out there when I went. So the
like St. Leo?
St. Leo's was out there. There was maybe someone a representative from Ole Miss. They put all the colleges in the education building so that the airmen and their wives and spouses wouldn't have to leave the Air Force Base to take college courses. And
so be like a proctor or something. Those situations.
Well, no, we actually had classes that we had a full schedule where they could come, they could do their English Comp 1, 2, college algebra, all of that in the building. So in that building, they would stop by my office and I would be their admissions person. I would get them admitted. Then I would help them register for class. I would help them with their financial aid. Then I get them their books, and then I write them a base pass. Yo, I could write a base pass. That's how they got on base. This is all before 9/11, right? So I would write them a base pass and get them on and off. So I was a sponsor to get the students to class. And I say students because it was open to anyone. So you didn't have to be in the Air Force. You didn't have to be military. So our students off-site could come, and I would really recruit really, really hard for all of the high school seniors that just finished college algebra 2, because it was equivalent to college algebra. I'm sorry. Algebra 2 in high school is equivalent to college algebra. Once they finish algebra 2, I would really, really, really pressure them to come on, knock it out, because college algebra is tough. So I did that for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
18 years on the Air Force Base.
That's a long time. I had no idea.
Did you not?
Did not. What did you do with Columbus Light and Water? Were you checking meters? Because I still have, there's one bill I haven't paid since 2002.
No, at the Light and Water Department, I took your money.
Oh, that's a good thing to do. You still take money though, right?
I still take money.
All right. So what did you do after the Air Force Base?
I became United Way. I became Renee at United Way.
Because when I
really was.
first met you, I think it would have been at the Toastmasters, maybe even. Was that 10 years ago? How long have you been at United Way?
10 years.
Okay. So
this is my 10th year.
But you were at Toastmasters, correct? Were you there for a little while?
I was. I still am.
Okay. So I went there. It was when I started in real estate. I went for a few weeks, and then I got nervous and scared. Oh. Much like when I go on stage now, I'm nervous and scared to speak. So.
Yes. Toastmasters, for those that don't know, it is a platform that teaches you how not to use your filler words.
Yep, I remember the count. Helps me a good bit.
That's right.
Then I learned how to intentionally make people cry when I speak, and that was it. That's all I had to do. I became a master at it. So 10 years at the United Way. So when you walked in there first day, not saying anything about any previous administrations or anything, what were the biggest challenges you had going on there when it was just the United Way office itself, not the giant factory that it is now?
When I started at United Way, I was the volunteer director. I never directed the community. I was used to dealing with students, and now I'm still dealing with students, but just at a different level. I was the volunteer director when I started with United Way. I'd never been the director of the community. It was a little different. I always worked in my church, but now taking what I did with a small congregation, small youth department, trying to figure out how to get them plugged into the community was now me trying to get the community plugged in. Now, I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but when I started, United Way had a grant from the state of Mississippi. And it came from Volunteer Mississippi. And Volunteer Mississippi said, Renee, we will give you money to go and engage your community in Lowndes County, but we'll give you more money if you add more counties. And so that's when we took on Noxubee County. We tried to extend to Monroe County, but that didn't work out too well. So we became the United Way of Lowndes and Noxubee. And my job was to go find volunteer projects and utilize the track volunteer hours and utilize those funds to create volunteer opportunities. So that was my biggest challenge, spending someone else's money. And just in case you don't know, if you get grant money, whatever you write in your grant that you're going to spend those dollars for, you better spend it for those items. So you don't get to leave it in United Way's account and just give a nice fat cushion. You got to go do projects. So my job was to go create projects and then go find people to complete the projects.
There you go. And how many organizations do you think y'all were helping then, 10 years ago?
Oh,
it's a different world
wow.
10 years ago, pre-COVID and world chaos. And
absolutely. I would say we had about 15 to 18 agencies at that time. Now we have about 24.
There you go.
Yeah. At that time, we were just United Way of Lowndes and Noxubee. And now we're the United Way of the Golden Triangle. So, yeah.
And was it just you when you started, or were you managing volunteers under you that helped you? Not just the volunteers at the soup kitchen, but I mean administration-wise.
No, there were two directors pre-me. Before me, let's see, Danny Avery was the director. Patricia Brock was the director that hired me. And I mean the executive director, Patricia Brock, and then Danny Avery, and then myself. I came in as the executive director after the ep05 tornado that came through in 2019.
So, and then everything's been smooth since then. No funding problems.
2020.
Oh yeah, COVID. I forgot about that. Oh, completely overlooked COVID
Come
and
on.
disastrous things. Of course, there were some overspending in certain sections and underspending in others. How was that a challenge during COVID to educate people on the resources out there, which is your job, but then also, I believe, that just much like myself for real estate, people call you about weird things that have nothing to do with you, and you still want to help them.
That's right.
So what happened during COVID immediately for you?
During COVID, I don't know if you guys remember this, but our governor sent everybody home. Everybody go home, go to your places, lock up, mask up, don't come out.
Yep.
And a lot of our nonprofits were run by senior citizens. So they were number one on the list. Like if you were a senior or if you were expecting a child, those are the two they said, go lock up, shut down.
Yeah.
And most of our agencies were run by senior citizens. I told my staff, I can't see how we as United Way could shut down and close the doors. Where would the people then call? And I noticed that in Tupelo, they were doing food drives. And I looked at the news of food drives going on just up the road in Tupelo. And I was like, man, if they have lines like that at their food drives in Tupelo, we have got to do something here. So there was a company that gave me $100,000. And that company said, Renee, go do what you need to do to help your community. Spend it like you need to. So I took that $100,000 and we did 5 food drives. We did 3 in Columbus and 2 in Noxubee County. And spent the money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people were scared. They sent us home for 5 weeks. And the first week I had a cocktail pool, above ground pool in the backyard, drank some daiquiris from Zachary's. And after about a week, I was like, all right, well, I didn't make any money last week. And so what are we going to do? And then the government sent me a food card. And then after like another week, I was like, we need to. And then I don't think it was 2 weeks into it where you and I were starting to get calls in the fundraising space going, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to do this? And
that's right.
It developed some bad habits and purely functional businesses and people that I know where they're like, oh, I don't have to go in or I can just not communicate directly. I thought more so in the business space. Like I thought there were some businesses that could have recovered from it, but didn't. Like
Right.
took the money and just kind of sat there for a while and didn't jump back out. Overall, do you think you recovered? I mean, I would have said a year ago or 6 months ago, maybe January of this year, we're probably on the precipice of getting back to normal. And then
Correct.
the funding
January.
cuts.
That's right.
Yeah, the funding cuts came in.
Pre those, then I think I thought we were getting back to some type of normalcy. But what I have learned is I am the United Way of the Golden Triangle region, but the Golden Triangle region doesn't know Renee. They don't know me yet.
I've seen you doing meet and greets for the last couple
exactly.
weeks.
Yeah, we got 7 counties now. And so you can say, hey, I'm Renee at United Way in Columbus. And someone may be able to finish that statement, but you go to Starkville and say, hey, that's Renee.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they know.
Yeah.
That's Renee. They don't know. I'm Renee with United Way. They don't know me in West Point. They don't know me in Eupora. They don't know me in Louisville. They don't know me in Ackerman. They don't know me. It's time to go build relationships. So that's what
I mean, you're in the job of letting people know how to get to other stuff. Where like you're essentially coordinating funds and you're going, the money's over here. Here's how you get it. And now you've just had a whole flock of nonprofits, I would say, that were formed during or right after COVID that it wasn't easy money. That's not fair to say, but there were grants and money and vistas out there, and then all of a sudden there aren't.
That's right.
And you have to really ask people for money at a time when people's pocketbooks are tightening up.
That's exactly
right. And you have to have my favorite part about you is you're on my very short list of completely unreasonable people. You come up with the 50K your way concept. When I look at that, I look at it the same way when I see somebody paying $1,500 for rent to have a boutique and that sells $8 dresses. I'm like, I don't know how you're going to do it. I've mentioned them almost every episode, but Ryan and Catherine Munson, Ryan going from being a stockbroker to having a beard wax and pizza and beer emporium.
And it works.
And it works great. So there are things like that just don't make sense to me. And that's what I love about you is that you're doing something that I saw there was something on TV the other day about the United Way. It was with the United Way. And they're like running 4 counties. I'm like, y'all better catch up. I was like, I've referred to you in the last week as the fastest growing United Way in the country. I don't know if that's true, but it has to be because I know that people in United Way in New Orleans, and I know my friend there who also helps with the Sports Hall of Fame there says he goes, there's United Ways aren't growing. Right. And he goes, and I'm like, no, they took over a few counties up here. And he's like, what, are they crazy? I'm like, probably in one of the most need-stricken areas of the country. One of my quotes I like to tell people is like, you're not aware that 26% of Mississippians are in relative poverty, not directly on the poverty line or below, and the different 25% work either directly or the majority of their family income comes from a government job, which I think that's the big thing people are going to miss with all these cuts. The grant cuts are one thing because, you don't understand how many people are really volunteering. I said that when I was on WCBI. I'm not putting it down. They keep giving me volunteer and other awards, and I keep mentioning your name and other people's names. Like, give them I was like, I'm a good hype man, but as far as the functional part of it, people don't understand just how much of what they think are government services are really the private sector just absorbing all this stuff. And they get part of it from a grant, but your job is to take that $25,000 grant and create $100,000 out of it somehow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How's the 50K your way going this year?
50K. This will be year number 3. And my goal is to sell 3,000 tickets. What I realized, though, that of the population that I now serve, there are 175,000 people in the 7 counties that I serve. I'm only needing 2% of the population to buy a ticket. That's all. So we kick off this week. Really, this is the week that we'll kick off. Really, you'll start seeing some advertising and us trying to get the word out. I want to tell the people, though, about the last 2 years. First year that we did the 50K your way, we broke even. We sold $60,000 worth of tickets, 600 tickets. That was $50,000 that we gave to the winners and $10,000 that we spent on advertising. There was a point during that raffle or during the sales that we said, okay, by this point, if we have not sold 1,000 tickets, then we are going to tell the community, it was already pre-written into the rules that we would then make it a 50-50. One winner, 50-50 split, so United Way could get something out of all of the hard work that we did. And we would give half of the money to one winner and keep the half for ourselves. And I said, as we were debating that, laying out the pros and the cons of doing that, I said, y'all, the community doesn't know us. They don't know what we do. They don't know who we are. They don't trust us. Let's give the $50,000 away. So we gave the $50,000 away, $10,000 on advertising. We broke even.
Yeah. Well, that's an investment too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because we earned 250 first-time donors.
Yeah, you did, and you did what you said you were going to do, even though you didn't have to. You get away with it if you didn't want to. So
That's right. But yeah, we did that.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a little crazy, and I like this time. So this year, I was going to get to this again, but since we're in Catfish Alley Studios in Catfish Alley, part of the final event's going to be in Catfish Alley.
It is.
Okay, cool.
It is. I normally I've had it twice. Previous times it was near the farmers market, and I partnered with Munson Brothers, Ryan, and he's awesome. But I was just looking around here in our community trying to figure out where could we actually move the event where I could just say it's there and everybody will know where it is.
Yeah.
And if they don't know where it's located, it's an easy ask. Where's Catfish Alley? Boom. Catfish Alley. It's an easy find. I want the community, though, of the communities that I serve. This is what I hear a lot of. I got to drive all the way to Starkville. I got to drive all the way to Columbus. I got to drive all the way to West Point. When I can get the community to stop saying all the way, and we can just treat each other like one big community, I think that we get our mindset on stop thinking about how small we are and just think of us as one big golden triangle region. Somebody came up with that name for a reason. I didn't make that up. Like, I didn't come up with GTR. I know you know that, right? That wasn't me. Somebody else came up with GTR, Golden Triangle Region. And you came from New Orleans and I came from Chicago. I know I was only 3, but still, to get from South Side to North Side or any other side, it's going to take you more than 20 minutes. In New Orleans, to get from one side of town to another.
That's crazy. Right. I can see things in New Orleans that are 20 minutes away. I can be like, I want to go to Winn-Dixie, and it takes me 20 minutes. So people laugh. I've already been to Starkville today, and it's 1 o'clock. Right. And I'm going to go afterwards and meet somebody, and it's one podcast away, if not even just to listen to it. And it's funny they have the identity. It must have been some identity at some point that they put the name out there. And I'm thinking that, hopefully we got a new administration in the city. Maybe there'll be some working towards that because we need it branding wise. Because the further you get away, I use that example a lot with Columbus and Caledonia and New Hope. Like, if you're in New York, you don't tell somebody from New Hope, Mississippi. You tell them you're from Columbus, hoping they may know. And then you'll be like, well, I'm from Columbus is next to Starkville, and then blank stare, and then you're Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Maybe like you can get it. And they're like, so maybe they'll know Tupelo and Elvis from a song or something. What's been the challenge for you as far as expanding? Is it more about getting to know people on the ground or the businesses?
Yeah.
The bigger
you know what has been the biggest challenge is me trying to figure out, because in our other communities, there were United Ways, and there was a United Way in Starkville and there was a United Way in Clay County. My biggest challenge is trying to figure out, should I go back and mend broken bridges that I didn't build? Or should I just look for another? Start building new relationships? Or should I spend time rebuilding, mending broken relationships from previous directors? I'm not saying that they broke anything, but there's something that happened and those United Ways dissolved. Maybe it was timing, maybe it was funding. I'm not sure what it was, but that's my biggest challenge. Renee, where are you going to speak? It's only one Renee. I don't know if you guys know that. They try to call Rhonda Sanders.
Yeah.
They try to call her Renee. She will answer. But there's only one Renee at United Way. There's 7 counties. I can only do so much. And people are like, Renee, there's no way you're going to do all those counties. And they're absolutely right. I'm not trying to do all the counties, just one at a time. I'm just going to take it one bite at a time and hoping that the people can introduce me and open some doors, some new doors. Y'all, I need new doors.
Well, that's part of, I talk to my kids a lot about limiting beliefs. So if you've got an existing building that had existing relationships with donors, which I deal with fundraising, that if PACCAR is writing you a $50,000 check all year, there are some donors want more for $550,000. The $500 guy may want a picture with you, get recognized at the banquet, get on the back of T-shirts and other. And the 50,000 people just want 2 reports a year. Some of them want them to give to their boss.
Right.
I won't say which is which, but there's like PACCAR and there's international paper. One of them wants a report to give to a boss somewhere else far away, and the other one wants pictures with all their workers 3 times a year, and they deserve it because they're running campaigns and doing this.
That's right.
And to manage those expectations after somebody else is no different different than taking over a restaurant and getting rid of the macaroni special.
Right.
And you got rid of the macaroni special, and they come there, and they're the best example I give. And God bless my friend Tony Hanna. He does
Yeah.
New Hope Strong,
Yeah.
true giver.
Hi, Tony.
And so I helped him out with Ducks Unlimited. And the reason I did that is because I sat with him one time, and I'm like, I was at the biggest donors table, and they didn't have a logo in the program, but somebody else did, and I was like, hey man, they're kind of complaining, and like he fixed it, took care of it, learned how to massage people a little, and then the next year, I always tell people, I said, don't put more on the flyer than you need to. I know you know that rule.
Yeah.
So we put blah, 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 and it said like chicken leg quarters, green beans, and potatoes, and dessert for $50 in your donation.
Yeah.
And towards the end of it, we served 6 people chicken breast instead of chicken leg quarters. 4 of those 6 people pulled us aside and said, it says right here that I was getting chicken leg quarters. And I use that example when I'm doing events. It says, don't put live auction, silent auction, raffle unless you're going to have them all. They're like, we'll figure it out. I'm like, you set expectations. Who, when, where, how much is it to get in? If you're going to fundraise, they're probably hoping you have a silent auction. But that way, if you don't, you run out of gas, you don't have time for one. But I said, but people get frustrated because, and a lot of people are on somebody else's dime. They're on the company, PACCAR sending 10 people, and they're like, well, I'm going to do all this other, get a couple drinks for free and do other things. And that's a big challenge in any business, mending relationships, whether they were bad or not, because they're, you never know that the day that United Way closed is the same as a restaurant closed. There are people waiting for paychecks. There's some other organization that thinks you messed them out of a $10,000 grant. How hands-on are y'all with helping people get grants? Or explain exactly what you do at United Way, and that'll help a lot of people. Because the concept is big. I talk about in fundraising that we have to have, it's better for me on what I do at a smaller level to have, if your kid has a heart problem, let's name the race after them than the American Heart Walk. And the United Way, I believe, just like the Boys and Girls Club, is just like the steel dynamics. Y'all are this big concept that kind of grays out because you're they just think you're this national $1 trillion operation that doesn't care about them at all. And they don't realize that. How many organizations now do you help?
24.
That's a lot, and growing because you meet new people every
Absolutely.
week. So what do y'all do? Somebody writes a check, not just United Way, but money comes from elsewhere.
Yeah, it's taken me 10 years for this one sentence. And if you've heard it before, bear with me. You got to hear it again. United Way is a multidimensional, volunteer-led nonprofit that oversees donor dollars with integrity. So I tell you that I'm multidimensional because when the skies are gray, tornado, whatever's happened, any type of disaster, we're there to organize your volunteers that's going to come to your community. When the skies are blue, we're doing fun events. We're finding volunteer projects. We're doing community service events. And I'll leave it like that. We're finding projects to do. I am volunteer-led. I have 35 board members. Shout out board member president. Dr. Yvette Roby, y'all, is my new board president. 35 board members. And y'all, Colin used to be a board member. Thank you, Colin.
Yes, we're
still an honorary.
I want to say this too, when I help Renee out a lot, but we both kind of looked at each other like, I'm not good at committees. I'm honestly not that great at boards because I want to go the same way she looks like she's tied in a room. And I looked at her after about 6 months, and I was just like this, and I'm like, just call me when you need me. She's like, all right, I'll just call you when you need me.
That's right. That's how I use them. Yeah. And then we are a nonprofit. Yeah, I'm a nonprofit. I am funded by the community. I have 2 federal grants that right now are just shaky, but the majority of our funds come from the community. That's it. It just comes from the community. I have a few grants that are out there, but the bulk of the money comes from the community. And so I oversee donor dollars with integrity. And so people will give if they can see what you're doing with the funds. They will give and they will support you.
And do you think moving forward, it might be easier or more difficult the bigger you are to get money from corporations like the industrial section here? I know we have an incredible. They're very generous, but they makes it much easier for them to write you $100,000 check, and then when I call them to say, hey, you want to sponsor my barbecue, and they're like, call Renee if you want to do it. So.
Yes, I think when they figure that out, then things will look a little bit better. But for the sake of your audience, just so that they'll know that United Way is the only nonprofit that can go to our companies. And it's not that I'm bragging. This is just the way that it was already set up before you and I were born. Yeah. That United Way goes into the industries or the companies, and we're the only ones that can ask for payroll deductions. So your Boys and Girls Club, Red Cross, Salvation Armies, blah, 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 they cannot go and ask for payroll deductions. I ask for a fair share, which is 1 hour's pay. And then that company either cuts me a check every month from all the employees, or they cut me a check every quarter and they send it to me. And then I'm responsible for giving that money to the agencies that are under our umbrella. And that's why people want to be under the umbrella of United Way. So they're not all running to the same company asking for the same pot.
Yeah. That's why I tell people when they're building their business, realize the bigger you get, the more people will ask you. And I know you're in the same situation as me where Doug and I and Zachary, we have 5 or 6 people a week like, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this. And I'm like, I understand, but you have to have some help to help me help you do it. And some people just don't. Well, there's pockets of need in the community that are just kind of undefinable. The medical stuff's obviously the most heartbreaking thing to deal with because you're just, as I learned through my wife's battle with cancer, and since then she's had 20-something surgeries, they'll let you die. Like if you don't have the right connections, know who to ask, know who to get through to this, to what step to talk to who, most of the answers to my question are, I'll be like, call this councilman, call Renee, call this, because you have so many organizations. Can you talk about a few of the bigger ones that are not underneath your umbrella, but that you'll help fund?
And most people don't know that Starkville Strong is one of the agencies. You kind of tapped on the fact that they were birthed through COVID. Yeah. But Starkville Strong is an agency of United Way. And then, of course, everyone knows American Red Cross. I'll say this about the Salvation Army. They're under our umbrellas. I hear people all the time saying, I don't want to give to Salvation Army. I don't want to donate to Salvation Army because they pay their CEO a whole bunch of money and they charge they charge for their clothes. They don't give that stuff away. The clothes, y'all, goes back when they take those funds. They take those funds and they use it to pay a light bill because for whatever reason, I don't know why, the Light and Water Department will not take eggs for a payment. I don't know why not. So they take your clothes and then they can then turn around and pay light bills or help with utilities. Their CEO is, don't worry about the CEO of the big corporation. You got to take care of your local CEO, your local Renee's, the local people. We're not making a ton of cash like the big dogs. And there are a lot of people that won't give to us because they're worried about someone that's so far away from our community, cares less about the community, and all it does is hurt us. It hurts us.
I can tell you, if you're talking about an unbranded, unnamed, unmanaged charity, you're running a much higher risk of your money not being spent efficiently by not going to United Way or look. And we came here from Hurricane Katrina. It's about 20 years coming up in about a month. Yeah. The two groups that worked to find us were the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. Like, not that we filled out the FEMA thing. Like, they came to our house, somebody told them we were here, and they just came and gave without, you know what I mean? And so there's some accountability on that. And it isn't that I say local charities are skimming or stealing. Right. But my biggest thing when I talk to charities, when I do fundraisers, is like, listen, we can't not pay some people and pay others. Like, we can't pay a band $3,000 and not pay a photographer. Like, we either – if you want me to be involved, we need to make a decision. If we're doing that, we can ask for a discount, but you can't all the time where people are like, I see that they paid a giant caterer and then from out of town, use a caterer from out of town, and then make poor Doug at Zachary's does the beer stand. Right. And I'm like, why didn't you just spend the money with him? And that's the big thing that people don't realize about smaller organizations who have the best intentions, who are just wasting money, and they're not keeping it local or whatever. And when y'all have I call y'all a regulatory body, but when you're there, y'all are checking, because I've had smaller charities that I've said, hey, listen, we got to do this quick. It's going to be under GoFundMe. And they're like, oh, we don't want to take it. I'm like, I know why you don't want to take it, because you have to do the bookkeeping for this. Exactly right. You don't want to take the money for it, whereas you're like, you better show me the bookkeeping for this if you want money. And I helped out with the Lowndes County Sports Hall of Fame this last year, and it's a nonprofit from day one. Right. And I was like, thank God when they have an accountant on the board. I'm like, yeah, that's what we needed as an accountant, because don't put me, I don't want to be involved in any of this, because I want to do everything right. As far as growth goes, right now it's the one office. Tell us about the new office.
New office, 362 Park Creek Drive. It's going to allow us to expand physically with more employees. We're not at the point yet that we're ready to get new employees, because now it's time to go raise some money. We got to go raise the funds. And a lot of people said, Renee, why'd you buy that big building? I don't know if they knew this or not, but United Way has always rented And I heard that they were established in 1954, became United Way in 1974, and we've always rented.
Yeah.
And my question to my board was, is renting the best use of donor dollars? Because if you add up all of the years that we've already rented, could not we have bought a building? And so my goal and my plan is to raise enough with my 50K Your Way, yes, to help me pay this building off, so that in the future Renees that are going to come along behind me, they will have a place where they can actually grow and really focus on the real mission right now. So I am working.
That's the answer. Where's our rent from the last 49 years?
Right.
And then once that's gone, you have nothing. And then now you have, in 19 years from now, you'll have a building paid for that you can. You've got a $500,000 asset on the books too.
Exactly. Yeah. And room to grow.
Well, that's great. And of course, again, if you have a nice building, it attracts more people, attracts more money. Is your primary goal, other than separate events like week to week, is it going after big checks at factories and businesses, or is it more of the payroll campaigns?
If United Way Worldwide said, if your bread and butter is payroll, if your bread and butter is payroll deductions, then you're not going to be here long. You might as well start packing up. I've got to find other ways to bring money into our community, to raise money for our agencies. It cannot be the bread and butter. I cannot completely depend on the community workplace campaigns. That's what they call those, where I was asking for 1 hour's pay, which we call that your fair share, just your fair share.
Yeah.
If you work 80 hours a week, give United Way 1 hour's pay. But United Way Worldwide said that cannot be your bread and butter. You know why, Colin? Because these young people are not staying at their jobs a long time. They'll stay with you for a few months and then they're out of there. But you and I, when we were growing on, longevity and staying with a company a long time was the thing. But not this young generation. They get tired of a job. Boom, they're gone. They're out of there. And because of that, you don't get the commitment through the payroll deductions anymore. You've got to figure out other ways. So we got Cash App, y'all. We have Klarna. We have promises to pay. We can bill you later. We have credit cards that we'll accept. So all types of ways that you can give your donation to United Way or buy your 50K Your Way ticket.
So do y'all have individual, like a subscription or something, like where it's $9.99 a month or a commitment? I've got my my check in here to give to you too from when you tricked me at the luncheon or whatever, and I want. You're like,
I love your checks. Write your checks.
Yes.
I will make your subscription if you need one.
Well, that's what every once in a while we look at our subscriptions. I'm like, when did we sign up for them? Why are we giving them $10 a month? But
I'm
it adds
telling
up.
you, it does.
It does add up. And I guess there's, I've talked to the Arts Council in the past about this, about how and the YMCA, love them both.
Yeah.
My membership's expiring. Nobody calls me. I get nothing. And they're like, well, you get an email. And I'm like,
that is not
that's
the
it.
same.
I should get a postcard, or you also just auto renew it if I don't reply, because I will. But they're like, you're not a member. I'm like, what? I was like, do you know how many emails Uncle Colin gets every week? There's some things I miss. And so if I blow it off, when people try to sell me something, if they just try to sell it to me once, good luck. At least you either got to wear me out and bother me to death, or you have to have a compelling argument on day one.
Hello.
There you go. So, what is the biggest challenge for the organizations that are under you right now, the 24 to 28 or whatever number I make up, since the grant, Vista, and spending cuts?
Goodness. We don't have enough time to talk about the impact of the Vistas. Vistas stands for Volunteers in Service to America. And what those individuals were getting or providing to our community, the organization would pay $1,500 a year for that individual.
High dollar stuff.
High dollars, $1,500, and you would get a full-time employee that would help you with any backdoor things, behind the scene things. They could not do a direct search for you, but when it came to your computer, anything on the back end, the paperwork, organizing, coordinating, all of that they could do. And when the federal government shut that down, 9 employees were sent away in the Starkville area. The person who ran the program, who worked for Mississippi State, was sent home. My organization did not get a letter. My Vista person did not get a letter, but we got this. This is what we got. Right.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yeah. And
Nothing.
People don't realize, on the podcast I've talked here before about the the gaps in society are filled usually by people. And sometimes they're just helped with grants when they get to a certain level. But the Create Foundation, or now the Lands County Community Foundation, Forge is a great example. The Link did everything it could to develop industrial development. They needed help in the high schools. EMCC built the community university, but they didn't do well in the high schools.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, people came up with it. And then at a certain point, when people build an organization and they become an official nonprofit, then they need help. And the government should be covering part of that, because that's when the people realize, wait, why are we seeing a larger homeless population in the last 3 or 4 months? I'm like, well, all their support services just got cut. And if it was 40 years ago, we had mental hospitals and all this other stuff, but we don't have that anymore.
That's right.
You have the Golden Triangle Homeless Coalition or community counseling, which we have a huge office here, and they do still get state money, but people don't conceive of it. They just don't see it until it's gone. And they don't realize where the holes are that were, again, every organization you have at one point was probably 2 people doing a great job as a volunteer organization. Then
2 is a lot.
Then they got together with another one. Then they said, hey, we don't want to mess with this. We want to be a nonprofit, so we do everything right. And then they do that for 20 years. Then they start getting grants.
Right.
And I remember meeting some Vistas working for the Arts Council here, and they were telling me what they made. And I'm like, like what a great investment even from the government standpoint to just do this to keep things rolling and fill in the holes in society. Because I know my friends in New Orleans who are in the charity space are getting crushed by it, because they have 10 to 1 as many people as we see. So they have organizations that are feeding 2,000 people a day.
That's right.
And every level of them, because a lot of the homeless coalition there gets fed by Helping Hands or whatever. So there's 4 layers under it that have all been cut just a little. Yeah. And then all of a sudden in New Orleans, they're like, wow, there's a big uptick in homeless people. And I'm like, well, what'd you expect? And then they're like, then the police it ends up being the government at some point spending the money just arresting people constantly. I don't know the solution, but the state here just passed a panhandling law and all that. So I don't know the solution to it, but like arresting them is not, as the police chief already told me here, he's like, it says we have to arrest them, and then they go there and they can't afford bail. He's like, then the government's keeping them anyway.
Exactly. So a lot of people don't know that we in our community have homeless people. They don't know the impact of it because they don't see a homeless shelter, but we do have homeless people, but they're sleeping in their cars or they are sofa surfing house to house, just trying to figure it out. Right.
No, and I think that the housing challenge in Columbus and Starkville is the same thing, is that the there's no middle end. You've either got $500 rentals or $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 rentals, and
nothing in between.
And nothing in between. And then you start going to further cities away, but we don't have any public transport, and we're not gonna. It's the same thing I say about Target and Trader Joe's. It's not coming. There's no magical. There's literally not a magical bus. Now we may get one in Columbus or somebody.
We're not gonna get a Target.
What's that?
We're not gonna get a Target.
No, but I'll say it, and I'll say it again. My wife and 3 teenage daughters do an amazing job of shopping at Target, even though we don't have a Target. So, I don't know. We're going to get an Aldi. Look, the Aldi's negotiating a lease right now, so some people will be excited about that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. No, look, things are okay. I would have run away if they weren't. And again, I consider it the whole Golden Triangle, because up until they closed it, we had a Checkers over there in West Point. They got a really good donut shop over there. Yep. Good little restaurants. Starkville's got more of the fancy boutiques and cookie stores. And as long as you're willing to drive a little, you're in great shape. So.
Yeah, don't say way over there, though. Y'all, we're the Golden Triangle region. Let's work like it. Yeah,
and we're starting to see what I expected here when I rolled into town 19.8 years ago, is we're starting to see more housing and development between here and Starkville. Some people are like school district this, school district that, but 60% of people don't have kids in school. And it's getting to be more because younger folks are not having kids till they're older. And, because of that, it's just pushing people are going to live where they're going to live. And we've seen more professors from Starkville move to Columbus because of the commute, and then do you have any involvement in the universities directly? Do you ever is there a United Way? Do you get to speak at them? I see the head shaking in a sad manner. Is it the same kind of rules as if the United Way wanted to go in the Air Force Base? Is there a litany of books and rules and regulations? Just can't do it, huh? I'll make some calls. I may get hung up on. Sometimes I ask people and beg people for money.
I plead the fifth when it comes to the universities.
There you go. It's okay. It's another thing I tell you. I said, Mississippi State got some funding cut this year. They came over trying to take MS from me and my kids, and I got a little upset. I got a little mad. Right. But the state told them, this was the first time in history state asked for any amount of money, and they told them no. they're serious about cutting money. And like at certain level, everybody down in Jackson, they like Mississippi State and that's their friends. But at another level, they think it's government spending and it's those liberal college teachers. So they cut a little of their spending, and hopefully that'll lead to MSMS staying here in my backyard.
Absolutely.
That's a whole nother
podcast
episode.
right there.
So as we get near the end of our time, can you just, even though we've talked mostly about the United Way and stuff, can you blatantly tell people what phone number to call, how to help you? And I have sent people to you like, hey, if you want to volunteer, call Renee United Way. It's the easiest way. But I should stop giving out your cell phone number on the air.
Give it out.
So
use my cell phone number, but I'm not giving you the cell phone number. This is the office number, 662-370-1922. If you like to go online, go to liveunitedms.org, and you can find us there.
If somebody wanted to volunteer this weekend, you could probably get them volunteer hours, right? Or if their kid wanted to volunteer.
If they wanted to volunteer, we have a calendar for the entire year of 2025 that I can connect them with. And at the end of September, I will have a calendar for 2026. Yeah. There is no reason, no excuse. And the best way, write down September the 4th. We're talking about that's the day I give away the $50,000. But that is also the day that all 24 of the nonprofits that I fund, they will be set up here as well. And they are going to talk to you all about recruiting, volunteering and volunteer opportunities. That's why they're there. So mark your calendar, September the 4th, come meet the agencies. Find out why you should support United Way and learn how you can volunteer and get involved.
So, see, great date to come, great time to come. Don't forget, most of your kids, if y'all have seniors, they got some volunteer hours. And if you're just looking for stuff, some jobs, there's a few jobs in the state, that let you do some volunteer hours in exchange for your regular stuff. And it's a good place to find it all at once and meet the people face to face and see the needs in the community. So, if you haven't met Renee in Columbus, she's easy to find, come find her. But if you aren't, you have to repeat after me. She's Renee from United Way. Thanks a bunch. We'll see you next week.